Yeah, this a revolution in our time. Everybody's fighting, change coming, yes. That's why it's an acronym for riot. Everybody has a voice, don't you dare stay silent. If you say nothing, you are an accessory to violence. Let these words dry the tears of our people that are crying. We can bring back hope, but not the people that are dying. It's what happens when the people you've oppressed ask for change in the country that they built, but you've ignored and denied. This is Sandra Bland, George Floyd, and every single family. Police brutality is intervened in.
That was Dax with Black Lives Matter. Welcome to the Rise Weekly Review for March 29th through April 5th, 2021. Before we begin this review, we would like to share the latest information on COVID vaccinations available to area residents. First, as part of a federal agreement to open a vaccine super site in Gary, Indiana is now expanding its vaccination offerings. Sites in Indiana are offering vaccines to anyone over the age of 16, including Illinois residents. There are various sites available in Northwest Indiana, and each offers different vaccines, including the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. Both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines require 2 doses given a few weeks apart, while the Johnson & Johnson is a single-dose shot. A chart for comparison is listed here. Chicago residents who don't want to travel to Indiana can also get vaccinated at different sites in the city. The city has opened up a mass vaccination site at Chicago State University for residents in phases 1A, 1B, and 1C who live in the southeast side zip codes such as 60617, 60633, and 60649, among others. Phase 1A is for healthcare workers and long-term care facility residents. 1B is for frontline essential workers and Chicagoans aged 65 and older, and Phase 1C is for residents aged 16 to 64 with underlying medical conditions and all other non-essential workers. You can register for an appointment at Chicago sites by visiting www.zocdoc.com/vaccine and selecting Illinois, or at Indiana sites by visiting vaccine.coronavirus.in.gov. An additional vaccination option is available to residents of South Deering, Calumet Heights, Jeffrey Manor, and Vets Park. Howard Brown Health, in collaboration with the City of Chicago, has opened up a vaccination site at Trumbull Park located at 2400 East 105th Street. The site is offering first dose appointments Thursdays and Saturdays through April 17th. Residents 18 and older can sign up for the appointments by calling 872-269-3600 or at the Howard Brown site hbh-covid-vaccine.as.me. And now, back to the review. On Wednesday, a shooting left a teen injured on the east side. Around 9:35 p.m., a 16-year-old boy was walking on the 10400 block of South Avenue J. A silver sedan drove up and began firing shots, striking the teen in the leg. He was transported to Comer's Children's Hospital and last reported in good condition. On Monday the 29th, a man shot a 20-year-old DoorDash delivery driver in Whiting. The shooting occurred around 2 p.m. on the 1200 block of 119th Street after the driver and the 19-year-old Cortez McGrone exchanged words. The driver was standing by his vehicle waiting for a customer to pick up food when McGrone asked him what he was looking at. The driver told police he and McGrone exchanged words when McGrone flashed a gun before entering an apartment. McGrone reportedly came back out the building and fired a handgun towards the driver's feet. He was taken to an area hospital with a gunshot wound to the foot, and his injuries were said to be non-life-threatening. McGrone was arrested at an apartment in relationship to the shooting and reportedly admitted to firing the gun. McGrone, who is from Chicago, was charged with 3 felony battery counts and 1 misdemeanor count of carrying a handgun without a license. Over the weekend, a series of arson attacks in Hegewisch left community residents feeling terrorized. At least 3 separate fires were set starting on Saturday. According to police, someone began setting fires to garbage cans in the alley between 133rd and 134th between Buffalo and Burley around 11:40 p.m. The fires quickly spread to nearby garages. One person received a hand injury when he tried to pull a lit trash can away from a structure to stop the spread. Fire crews responded and were able to control the blazes and keep them from spreading to nearby homes. However, the arsons continued Sunday evening. Around midnight, late Sunday, early Monday, a garage was burned on the 13500 block of South Buffalo Avenue. The garage was completely burned with the man's car inside. The latest fire was set on Monday the 5th. Monday's fire was set around 8:30 a.m. at the old Tom's Truck Stop restaurant located at 2701 East 130th Street. Firefighters responded and no injuries were reported in either of those fires. On Thursday, news reports came out about the arrest of a man from a February 21st shooting that left 3 people injured. 27-year-old Larry Sistrunk, who was originally from the Austin neighborhood, was extradited from Louisiana for the shooting. The shooting occurred on the 7800 block of South Muskegon. According to police, the shooting occurred during an argument when a man opened fire on a 24-year-old woman. A 60-year-old woman and the 53-year-old man who were standing in front of a nearby home were also struck and wounded. On Friday, news reports came out about a man from Jeffrey Manor being charged with the murder of an 11-year-old child. 27-year-old Marcus Starkey was charged with first-degree murder for a March shooting that left 11-year-old Neandra Dyer dead. Neandra was in the back seat of a car at a gas station in West Pullman on the 100 block of West 127th when Starkey and an 18-year-old man began firing shots at each other. Neandra was struck in the head in a crossfire. The 18-year-old was also hit and struck in the groin area. Starkey was extradited from Minnesota. Chicago police are searching for a pair of robbers that have been targeting people down 95th from Burnside to Jeffrey Manor in Chicago. The pair has been approaching people at area gas stations and demanding their wallets, purses, or other personal items. They are described as 2 males between the ages of 20 and 30 and usually wear black hooded sweatshirts. Area residents are advised to remain vigilant when pumping their gas in the area, and anyone with information on the robberies is asked to call Area 2 detectives at 312-747-8273. On Tuesday, a drunk driver slammed into a family home in South Shore. According to police, around 9:10 p.m., a driver was heading westbound on 71st Street in a 2020 Chevy Malibu. The driver was reportedly intoxicated when they crashed into the side of a home. The driver, only identified as a 30-year-old man, was taken to Jackson Park Hospital and last reported in good condition. His passenger refused medical attention. In national news, the trial of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd was underway. Chauvin is facing murder charges after an incident on May 25, 2020, following an arrest. Chauvin was filmed by witnesses kneeling on Floyd's neck while he was handcuffed for close to 9 minutes, during which Floyd repeatedly cried that he could not breathe before losing consciousness. 46-year-old George Floyd died during the incident. Following national protests in June, the Hennepin County prosecutors announced second-degree murder charges against Chauvin. Other officers at the scene who refused to intervene were also charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder. These included officers Thomas Lane, Alexander Kung, and Tu Thao. During the week, the prosecution called witnesses and officers to testify. Witnesses spoke about their attempts to intervene and request help. Veteran officers described the use of force as unnecessary.
Have you ever, in all the years you've been working for the Minneapolis Police Department, been trained to kneel on the neck of someone who is handcuffed behind their back in a prone position?
No, I haven't.
Is that, if that were done, would that be considered force?
Absolutely.
What level of force might that be?
That would be the top tier, the deadly force.
Why?
Because of the fact that if your knee is on a person's neck, that can kill them.
According to reports, the officers' actions went outside of their training and policies. The defenses argued that the bystanders created an atmosphere that was threatening to officers and that Floyd was resisting arrest. The trial is resuming this week. Early in the week, residents of the east side near George Washington High School faced a series of blackouts. The blackouts occurred following a planned outage which began on Sunday, which lasted several hours. However, residents received an unwelcome surprise on Monday with random power outages throughout the day. The power outages would last anywhere from a couple of seconds to hours. According to residents, the power outages began around 12 p.m. and continued into the late evening hours, before full power was finally restored. On Thursday, news reports came out about issues related to the city's handling of 311 complaints. The report followed a complaint by South Chicago resident Steve Ortega about a pothole located on 87th and Burley.
It's a pothole, but it's turning into a sinkhole. Now you can see the hole is getting bigger, and the cone, you can barely see the head of the cone. If somebody had to swerve, that could be a bad accident.
According to Ortega, he had filed a 311 complaint about a pothole he has been trying to avoid for over a year. Ortega filed a request on St. Patrick's Day, but noticed on March 30th that the city marked the job completed with the note, "No pothole found." According to Ortega, the city has never attempted to contact him about the issue, and the pothole is still there.
I mean, nobody's ever called us back or sent us an email in response or any of one-on-one commitment.
A city spokesperson stated that they are looking into the issue and are aggressively planning on patching potholes every day in the spring. During the week, Reserve Management Group responded in a court filing to allegations made in a federal lawsuit. The federal lawsuit launched by two pastors, including former 10th Ward Aldermanic candidate Richard Martinez, accused the city of environmental racism in allowing the plant's expansion and claimed it violated residents' civil rights. RMG filed a motion through its Southside Recycling plant, despite not being named in the lawsuit, to urge the court to come to a quick decision. They claimed that the plaintiffs failed to provide evidence to show that air quality would worsen by the expansion. The motion claims that the conclusions offered by residents are not supported by a, quote, shred of data or science to explain how health would be threatened. Attorney David Shitzawar further stated, instead, a well-organized and emotionally charged opposition has relied on the politically appealing yet demonstrably false assumptions that if the facility has stopped operating on the north side, it must be harmful for the south side. Victor Henderson, who represents the plaintiffs, argued that the permit issued by the Illinois EPA shows that General Iron's southeast side location can emit 16 tons of pollution. That is more than before and worse. In other related news, residents reported throughout the week that Scabby the rat was seen in front of the facility. Residents also reported and confirmed that RMG had recently hired a former local political heavyweight by the name of Thomas Sedzak. Thomas Sedzak was considered the right-hand man of former 10th Ward Alderman John Pope. Pope faced backlash from area residents after it was revealed that he hired Sedzak despite being put on a city do-not-hire list. Sedzak was put on the list following a lawsuit the city settled in which he was accused of having a history of harassing and threatening former female co-workers with rape. It is unclear how long Sedzak has been working for the company or what his role is, but Sedzak was known to have strong 10th Ward political connections. And finally, are you or your family members looking for work? Of Color Incorporated is now running an employment program to assist residents on the 60617, 60619, 60620, 60637, and 60649 zip codes. The Strive Illinois Youth Investment Program is currently accepting applicants interested in opportunities ranging from the retail, healthcare, finance, cosmetology, childcare, and food service industries. Residents interested in learning more can visit the website www.ofcolorinc.org or call 773-664-2356. And that ends our weekly review for March 29th through April 5th, 2021. Thank you for joining us for this week in review. Peace.
Slave work employed, nobody's born racist, man, it's something you learn, deep-rooted in your brain from the day of your birth. I think it's time that we repair all of these bridges we burned and let love out of our hearts onto the cheeks we've turned. Spread love, show love, let's get rid of this curse. Don't wait for anyone to act, man, you go first. 400 years wasted, let's get rid of this hurt, cause that's the only way we'll ever see peace on earth.
I can't breathe.
What we really need. Cut me open, cut you open, res the